Okay. Okay, sir. I'll move on to what the current league now. Well, the Celtics were able to advance. I mean, sweeping the Pacers. Your thoughts on that? Was this something you saw or otherwise?
Yeah, I saw what everyone else saw. Very big shots being made. I don't care if you're just in a gym shooting by yourself. A lot of those shots that are being made would be remarkable things. And these guys shoot thousands of shots a week to stay at that level. But the Celtics, uh, obviously the Pacers
Mhm.
were down. Uh, they lost Tyrese Halliburton,
Mhm.
hamstring. But there was no quit. The Pacers went at them very hard, and they pushed the Celtics very hard. And the Celtics rose up and made shots just as they did along the way. And so we have a Celtics team led by a tandem
Mhm.
with a small cadre of role players. The center, Kristaps Porzingis, has been hurt for the playoffs. He may return for the finals. That's still questionable. But the point is, the tandem of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum is quite a tandem. And of course, if you flip the script to the West, we got quite a tandem working there too. They have really played fabulously in the clutch moments, as did the Celtics.
Mhm.
And the Timberwolves are a up and coming team. I don't want to call them young because not all of them are young, but they were the best defensive team in the league. And the tandem of Kyrie Irving and Luca, that tandem is they've got to complete the deal. They've got to beat these Timberwolves. And the Timberwolves certainly showed the Denver Nuggets about not showing up. The Denver Nuggets let the Timberwolves come back and defeat them. And so the Dallas Mavericks, they're up 3-0, but they still have to complete the task. And if they do, we're going to see tandem ball. We're going to see two teams that have some very fine role players, particularly in their big men. But we're going to see um, the the tandems go at each other, and it'll be very interesting, I think. Now, if Porzingis does come back, he's the third scorer, and that could shift the balance some. I don't know. We won't know. It would be hard to come back and jump right into game one. He may get some limited minutes if he is able to play at all. But for better or for worse, these are teams led by their tandems. And it'll be fun. I predict it'll be fun. It'll make, and you have two coaches that are vying. One very young and Boston's Joe Mazzulla, and the other well known in Dallas, Jason Kidd. But one of them is going to come away with a championship likely, and that will change things. That will it will change the arc. Whatever happens, the Celtics have had these its own fine their own fine tandem that has not been able to quite get over the hump in championship play. And of course, the Mavericks have fifth best team in the West, have played their way and earned it every step. They've played better defensively. They've paid attention. They're very focused. And so somebody's going to come out of this meeting with a much rosier tenure in the NBA, but they both will have made tremendous gains.
For the Mavericks, I mean, is it safe to say that the addition of Gafford in Washington really boosted their roster?
There's no question of that. That was a tremendous move. The drafting of Derek Lively,
Hmm.
all of those things have really, it's really sort of shifted who plays in the series. And, you're looking at the Twin Towers of the Timberwolves headed into the Western Finals, and you're thinking, gosh, I don't know. Will the Mavericks be able to stand up? And of course, Gafford's been blocking shots like a maniac. And of course, they've been running alley oops to both of them. That's a big. That's going to be. It'll be interesting to see. You would think that the Celtics are going to attempt to shut down on a lot of those alley oops. I don't know.
Especially with well, you still have Jeru Holiday there.
I will tell you this. I don't think people will have trouble watching the games. I think they'll be very interesting. I think it will be, even though it looks like the obviously the Celtics swept their way past Indiana. Those were exciting games.
Hmm.
The Pacers pushed them to the max, even without their all-star point guard.
Yeah.
And Dallas has pushed the same agenda. And so those teams are much more complete than they were earlier, especially the Mavericks. That personnel effort has really paid off in the things they've acquired. It was a big trade with Charlotte.
So assuming the Celtics and well, the Mavs do advance, do you see this going the whole route? I mean, the full 7 games, or do you see an advantage for any team?
Well, when you get them on the floor and get them matched up at this time of year, and you see how both have gotten a certain rhythm they have, and that's how they win games and how they control whatever they're trying to control, whether it's tempo or how the other team attacks. And so you get into it, you'll look at the matchups. Obviously, the Celtics will have home court
Yeah.
advantage. They sometimes have been a little lax on their home court. So I would think that there's a good opportunity for the Mavericks to get a split, and the series will go back to Dallas 1-1. And I think that the Celtics likewise have been good recovering on the road if that indeed happens. And so I think they will go to Dallas and they'll get a win. And I think it will be 2-2 going into game 5. Game five's in Boston. If I had to believe, I would think the Celtics get that victory, but I don't think it's guaranteed. I think it'll be a very close game. But I think the Celtics will go back up 3-2 to Dallas. And I think Dallas will get a win. It could end at right there at 4-2. But I
Okay.
think Dallas will get a win. And so it will go back for game 7 in Boston Garden, and it'll be a delight. And it's going to be which of the tandems can get control down the stretch. And my thinking, which is probably going to be totally wrong, but I've been doing this a while. My thinking is that there will be that the organ music will be going full speed. How they use the organ music in the NBA arenas to pump up the crowd.
Hmm.
I think the Celtics fans will be chanting defense, And I think it's going to come down to somebody making a play at the end. Jaylen Brown, Luca, Kyrie, Jason Tatum. Somebody's going to rise up and do something that, of course, that sounds like a dream scenario, but I'm just looking at the rhythm and flow of the games and the mentality with that rhythm as each team shifts in and out of it. Now, the Celtics have been the best in the league all year, so they may just rise up and find a way to resolve things pretty quickly. But I think if Kyrie's ever been fired up, that blood with Boston is not real good. And those Celtics fans are salty.
Hmm.
Pardon me. So they're going to have things to say. There's going to be a salty reception for Kyrie and Boston Garden. And I don't think that will let up the however long the series lasts.
Ironically, two players there to watch who played for the other teams are Porzingis and Kyrie, right? Kyrie played for Boston, Porzingis played for Dallas.
Yeah. No, there's all kinds of feelings.
Hmm.
I think that stuff helps a little bit, sometimes helps a lot. I just think whatever rhythm either one of those tandems settles into, whatever kind of mojo or energy they get from how they play in the early games. You know, you try to get downhill on your opponent. Whoever gets downhill on the opponent, you know, I think that will run it. The Timberwolves threw off. The Timberwolves got a good run at the Nuggets,
Hmm.
and then the Nuggets came right back and walloped them. And the Timberwolves were a young team that threw that off and got the victory in Denver. But that's sort of counter to the narrative. And so you look to see who gets the momentum in the series, and it's a test of wills. Which team is going to be able to exert its will?
Yeah.
That was always the special thing about the Jordan era. Everyone wants to talk about this or that. There's never been a basketball player that I've witnessed in all these years that had the iron will of Michael Jordan. He just had it, and just walking on the floor, it was an intimidating thing for every other NBA team, even those that had a lot of their own testosterone. And so it's going to be, we're going to find out who has the iron will.
My last question, sir, because if you recall the last time you picked the Nuggets to make it back to back. Any thoughts on what happened to them and what lies ahead?
Yeah, I don't think they throw out the bathwater and the baby. The Nuggets will be back. They will have to address how they could have lost what happened to them and their focus. And they'll make adjustments. I think they'll be back in the thick of it. They have a great player, and they have really strong complementary players. But no, they're hurting. They'll uh, they'll spend the summer licking their wounds and figuring out how to come out.